I'm happy to be here to commence this series of lectures on the most famous scripture, which is the Bhagavad Gita. Let me chant a few invocatory verses before I begin the lecture properly. Sriman Venkatanathāryaha Vedanta Sannittam Sadahudi Jnanānandamayaṃ Devam Nirmalasmritikārtim Ādhāram Sarvavidyānaṃ Tadamdīpam Upāsmahe Visheshavidvārishadeshu Nātha Vidagdagoshti Samanāntaneshu Cikīṣato me Kavidātikendra Jihvāgrasimhāsanamabhipeyā Yatpadāmhoruhadhyāna Vidhvastā Sheshakalmashaha Vastutāṃ Upayātoham Yāmumeyam Namāmitam. I welcome you all once again. Let us try to understand the term Bhagavad Gita first. There are two words in it. It's a compound word, as we call in Sanskrit, Samastapada, Bhagavad Gita. Gita, as we all know, means a song, basically. It's a song or a philosophical doctrine. Now, Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad means of the Lord, of the Bhagavan. Why? It's not enough if we say Gita. Should we say Bhagavad Gita? Why? Because there are many Gitas. There is Anugita. There are many Gitas. So to distinguish those Gitas from this, so this is called as Bhagavad Gita. One more real reason is that it was spoken or it was narrated by the Lord himself. The Lord is known as Bhagavan. Krishna is called as Bhagavan in the tradition. So Bhagavan has become Bhagavat in the compound. So Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The word Srimad is added to pay respect to the text. Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Vishnu Puranam. So any religious text is addressed with these words in the beginning as Srimad, which means a mark of respect. So that is why this text is known as Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Before we understand what it says, it is customary to say a few words about the greatness of the text. Greatness is called as Mahatmya. In Sanskrit it's called as Mahatmya. There is a shloka. I'm just going to recite only one shloka and explain the shloka which talks about the greatness of the Gita. Sarvopanishado bhavo dobdha gopala nandanaha partho vatsaha sudhir bhokta dugdham gita mahat. What does the Gita contain? The Gita contains the nectar or the essence of the Upanishads. It does not talk something which is radically new. It only echoes what is already being said in the Upanishads. But Upanishads is like the Upanishads in plural are like cows. Cows. Now we should have the ability to milk a cow and then drink the milk out of it. It's not easy. It is not like you go and it's not like a machine where you maybe drop a coin and then get some milk out of it. So there should be somebody who is an expert in milking a cow. I am sure we have not even seen the activity of milking a cow, but it is not easy. One has to be friendly with the cow first of all. The cow has to be friendly with the person who is going to milk it, because it will behave strangely with different people. It may kick, it may hit you from the back or whatever. So one has to be conversant with the way the cow is first of all. And the milking is not a very easy task. To milk a cow, it really pains. And there are some cows which are really milk rich. They may give 10 liters, 15 liters. Today it is mechanized. We have machines milking cows. But in the earlier days, people used to milk cows manually. So one has to know the cow basically, and one should be capable of milking it. And will a cow give milk just like that? It needs a calf, because it's called as Vatsalya. Vatsalya means that affection towards the calf. The cow is not giving milk for us. It is actually giving milk for the calf. But we cheat it. We just show the calf to it and then we milk the cows. So normally how it used to be is that a calf will be brought, the cow's calf will be brought to the cow. It will be allowed to feed a little. That's when, because of the affection towards the cow, towards the calf, the cow will, automatically the milk will come forward. And then it is taken away and then the rest of the milk is taken for now. If the Upanishads were to be compared to the milk-rich cows, then Krishna was the cowherd who actually, who had the wisdom or who had the knowledge to milk the cows, that is the Upanishads, and bring out the milk. The milk is nothing but the Gita, and it is the Amrita. Gita Amritam. Gita, that's the Amrita, that is the Dugdham. Dugdham is milk. Mahat means it's very rich by itself. Now, who is a Vatsa? Vatsa is Partha. Partha is the other name of Arjuna. Pritha is the mother of Partha. Pritha. In Sanskrit, we have all these words as derivations. Pritha is the name of Arjuna's mother, and that is why he is called as Partha. Like this. So, Partho Vatsaha. Vatsaha means the calf. So, Krishna had Arjuna as a calf. And then he took the milk out of the Upanishads and presented it as the Bhagavad Gita. Gopala Nandanaha. We all know that it was Vishnu who took incarnation as Sri Krishna in the Krishna Avtara, and basically he was a cowherd to begin with. Now, there are some strikingly similar verses between the Gita itself and the Upanishads. There are some verses which if we get a chance to compare both Gita and the Upanishads, we can see some verses to be strikingly similar. So these are proof that the Gita is nothing but the extract of the Upanishads. As Dr. Kaustubh mentioned in the introduction, Gita, what is the place of Gita? Any text has to have a place. We go to a bookshop, we buy a book, we don't just begin to follow what is said in the book. We look for who has written it. And if it is from the West, then we look at the back first. Who has said what about the books? 10 million copies sold, or 100 million copies sold, 1 billion copies sold. You find the statesman or somebody mentioning that this is just an excellent book. So we look for some more information about the book, because only then it gains credibility. Otherwise, we don't treat it as a credible text. Now we have to look at who has said what about the book. Now, Bhagavad Gita has been commentated upon by many real scholars who were Acarya-s. Here we don't have any dark or scholars. We have many scholars. We had many of them in the past. So the famous ones were Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya was one of the founders of the Advaita school of Vedanta. He has commented upon the Gita. Then Bhagavad Ramanuja, who was one of the propagators of Visistadvaita school of Vedanta, he has commented. Then Madhvacharya, who is the propagator of Dvaita school of Vedanta, he has commented upon the Bhagavad Gita. So when we look at who has commented upon it, then it gives more credibility to the text. So this is one of the reasons why this book has, apart from the teachings, now this has also added to the greatness of the text basically. normally, just to say a few words on the credibility factor, there are three means by which we know things. One is pratyaksha. Pratyaksha is we have sense organs, we have the sense of sight, we have the sense of hearing, we have the sense of smelling and so on. So if there is an object, if I sit before you, you are able to see my presence just by seeing. No one is required to come and say there is someone sitting before you. You by yourself can look at me and find out. But now someone has left this room. You don't know if she is standing there or not. Now you hear a ringtone. The phone is ringing. So now you can kind of guess with this the ringtone that someone is standing outside the room. You are not able to see the person. You are not able to see the person, but you are able to infer that there is a person standing outside the room. So predominantly to us, to make a comfortable living, these two pramanas are enough to have a pratyaksha. Technically, the means to know something is called as pramana. So pratyaksha and anumana. Anumana is the inference. Whatever you can perceive with your senses, that is called as pratyaksha or perception. We may perceive with our eyes or with the ears, with our sense of touch and so on. But whatever cannot be perceived, someone is standing outside, we cannot perceive. But still we can infer their presence by some factor which is related to the person. But there are certain things which cannot be inferred at all. For example, let us say there is this, I have not been to the US, so I'll take an example of the Statue of Liberty which the French gave to the US. Now someone is saying there is a Statue of Liberty in the US, it is so tall, it is like this and that and all these things. Now if I have to believe this without going there, without Googling, okay, no Google, no Google. So if I were to know that there is a Statue of Liberty in the US with such and such features, then if I don't trust the person who is going to say that, I will not believe it. So the person has to be trustworthy, who is going to share that information. Now that person is known as Apta. He is known as Apta. So Apta is a person who will say things as they are. If you go around shopping in around Chennai, now I have come on a program, you go to a shop and then you ask for an item, whatever, maybe you want to buy a shoe or something. Then the fellow in the shop will tell you, this is the best shoe you will find. This is the best. If you leave the shop, you won't find such a thing. Now, this person is saying something to us. Will you believe or not? We will not believe. We will not believe because now his intention is to sell that shoe to us or sell that item to us. So he has a motive behind that. He's saying that this is the best. If there were no motive, for example, if you find someone coming in and they're telling you that don't buy from the shop, go to that shop that is cheaper. Now you may accept those words because you don't know that person and he is not selling anything in the shop, but he is willing to share some information that go to that place because over there you will find it better. Then the credibility is shifting. But even then, you do not know if that person is completely aware of things. He is yet to see the third shop. Maybe he has only two shops. So like this, the credibility factor plays an important role in knowing things. Traditionally, we say Shastra. Any Shastra is basically a science. Any Shastra is the most credible source of information. We say Shasanat Trayate Shastram. It's a technical word in Sanskrit, like Shasanat Trayate. It protects us, the Shastra protects us by telling us what to do and what not to do. And Acarya says the Shastra is more benevolent, is more caring than even the parents. I'm sure there are many mothers here, but you will have to listen to what I say more and then decide for yourself. What motherhood is the most important thing in the world, and can there be someone who is more caring and loving than a mother? Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, yes. Because mothers are also moved by emotions. If the kid is going to cry for a long time, you don't know any other way to convince the kid, then you give it what it wants. So we also yield to the pulls and pressures of the kids because of our affection or love, without knowing what is right or not. Buy chocolates, buy so many things. But Shastra does not put forth any emotions. It is very clear. It says, you be a kid or be a man, be a woman, whatever it is. This is what you should do. This is what you should not do. If you do this, this is for your good. If you do this, this is for your bad. So that is why Shastra is something which is looked upon. It's a very holy scripture because it is treated with utmost respect. For the reason that it will not say anything bad to us. Whatever it says, it will only say that is good for us. That's why you say anything is a Shastra, Yoga Shastra, Sankhya Shastra, Vedanta Shastra. So all these Shastras, if they have to be translated into English, maybe you can say science of something, science of whatever, the Sankhya. So they are the body of the knowledge of that particular field of knowledge. Now, where does the Gita come from? Gita is a very minuscule part of a very, very big text called as Mahabharata. Mahabharata has just over 1 lakh verses or 100,000 verses, only 100,000 verses. So, and Gita is what? Gita is roughly 700 verses. So, imagine. So, we have to literally go through if we are left to be ourselves, if you have to find out Gita from the Mahabharata, then imagine the amount of hard work you have to put. You have to go through the entire text to discover where the Gita is. And Gita is only what? 700 verses. The Mahabharata is divided into 18 chapters. Gita forms a part of one of the chapters, called as Bhishma Parva, and it is essentially a discourse between Sri Krishna and his friend, disciple Arjuna. The three commentators which I mentioned before, Shankara, Ramanuja and Madhva, they all agree that there are around 700 verses in the Gita, because if you compare the textbooks that are available, some do have some extra verses. Some extra verses are there in some of the books, but how do we know that they form part of the text or not? Then one way is that whoever is your teacher, whatever he is following, then you can see that you can compare and find out which verses actually form part of the Gita. Okay. The Bhagavad Gita is actually a moksha shastra. Moksha means liberation. The moksha is addressed differently in different philosophies. Like some schools, it calls it as Kaivalya. Kevalasya bhavaha Kaivalya. Kaivalya means you can say loneliness, being alone, being away from other things. Loosely, that can be said to be Kaivalya. Kevala means being alone, Kaivalya. Some schools say Nishreyasa. Nishreyasa means Nischayena Shreyas. That which has Shreyas or the good things for sure. There is no mix of any kind of sadness in it. It is only full of bliss, Shreyas. Some schools call it as moksha or mukti. Mukti or moksha. So in English we call it as liberation. We hear of many liberation movements in our daily life, but this liberation is from the bond of samsara, from the bond of our mundane and material life. If there is some factor which we all seek, which we all, in the sense, not only human beings, but all forms of life, if there is something which we chase day and night, we are willing to forego our food and sleep in order to find out that thing in life, is called as happiness. It's called as happiness. We may not know what exactly is happiness. We may not know it, but still we seek it. We still seek it. So being comfortable or being happy. I feel comfortable with this, so I'll go for this. I feel happy with this, or I'll go for this. We do not know if it is good or bad, because these two are different. Something good, okay, and something is favorable. I mean, pleasure, something is pleasurable and something is good to us. We do not know if these two go together. What is favorable to us need not be good to us, and what is not making you happy need not be bad. Let us take the simplest of examples, eating habits, food. All good things for health do not come with sugar, and all bad things for health come with sugar. But we prefer the latter because it is good. It is nice to eat. We are not willing to eat the other one which is not sweet, but that is good for health actually, and this is good for the mouth. We prefer to go with what is good for the mouth rather than what is good for the stomach. So we do not know what is happiness. Still, we conceive something as happiness, and then we go in search of it. Now, moksha is again going back to what I said about the three pramanas, pratyaksha, anumana, and shabda. It's called a shabda. The third pramana is called a shabda, where we resort to the aptas. Now, we cannot on our own know that there is something called as moksha. How will we know? So then we have to resort to someone who has studied about it, or who has known it, or probably who has attained it. That such a state is there, called as moksha, where there is no sadness at all. It is filled with happiness. It is not like you go on a holiday with a recharged card, then at the end of the balance, when you swipe, it no longer allows you to stay further. Then you have to come back. So heaven is conceived of such a place that where you go based on the merits or punya that you have accumulated. At the end of the last punya, people will push you from there. This is over, your journey is over, so please go back and yearn and come back. This is only a holiday. But moksha is not like this. Moksha is something that is a point of no return. Unlimited balance. Okay, unlimited balance. So you can be there. So Gita is basically a shastra which is going to talk about moksha. Which is going to talk about moksha. We have many popular books and many authors, they are selling Gita, like Gita for management, Gita for this, Gita for that. But Krishna, at least, did not expound the philosophy of Gita for all these reasons. Gita was expounded for the purpose of moksha, not to make money. Okay, so Gita was expounded for the purpose of moksha, and moksha means liberation from the pangs of samsara. So he is telling Arjuna that there are three yogas in the Gita. One is the karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga. The Gita is made of 18 chapters, 18 chapters. It is divided into 3 hexas. First 6 form the first hexa, the next 6 and the third 6. So Krishna propounds the karma yoga. Karma yoga is different from karma because the word karma has many meanings. Karma means an activity, karma means an action, karma also means that factor which is making us to be born again and again. But karma yoga is a different thing which we will see during the course of the lectures. Karma Yoga is dedicated action without an eye on the results of the action. Without an eye, without wishing for the fruits of the action. I am going to do this work only with intention of getting this. If someone is going to do an action in this way, then that is not Karma Yoga, because nobody can guarantee the result of the action. If there is a favorable result, someone is happy. If there is a loss, then he is not happy. So this is going to bring in a sense of anxiety in us whether I will be able to get the result or not. But this is not Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means we have to do an action for the sake of doing it. A lot of us go for walking. A lot of us go for walking. But what we do during walking, we carry headsets, we carry a mobile phone, we maybe take a pet with us. We do all these things, but this is not walking in strict sense. This is just taking some time out. Walking for the sake of walking is going to give you the 100% benefit. Not doing several things during walking. I want to catch up with my mates, I catch up with missed calls and so on. This is not walking. So walking for the sake of walking is what is known as the Karma Yoga. Now walking is the purpose, not anything else. This is Karma Yoga. Next is Jnana Yoga. The word Jnana is a very tricky one. Jnana means knowledge. But knowledge of what? We say, many people, we call them as Jnanis. Jnani means one who has Jnana. But of what? There are many learned people that we see who is a doctorate, who has got a doctorate in physics and chemistry and maths and so on. No doubt, they are all Jnanis. They have attained knowledge in their own field. But here, this Jnana refers to the Jnana of the Atman. Jnana of the self. Jnana of the soul. Here Jnana means one who is, Jnani means one who is stationed, one who is constantly meditating upon or being in his own state. In Yoga Sutra also we find a sutra saying this, Tada Drashtuhu Swarupe Vastham. Being in one's own essential nature. So before that, we have to know what the nature is. You can go to a place only if you know where the place is and how the place is. Okay. So now, Krishna is going to teach Arjuna about the Atman in the initial chapters and then say this is where you got to be. Okay. So you have to perform Jnana Yoga to be over there. And the third is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti is a concept. It's a preeti, having an affection. We can have bhakti towards anything. We can have preeti towards anything in this world, with our own family members, maybe with anything. But here, this bhakti is devotion towards the highest principle, who is Krishna himself. As Krishna is going to say, I am the supreme person. But only thing is, as we know, Sankhya does not accept an Ishvara, whereas here, Ishvara is Krishna himself. Okay, so Sankhya, the idea of Sankhya, what we see in the Gita, the idea of yoga can also be seen in the Gita. And apart from that, Patanjali in the Yoga Sutra gives a hint like Ishvara Pradhanatva. He gives a scope to some of the practitioners to take the grace of the Lord. Now Krishna is going to, that can be loosely taken as the Bhakti Yoga. One can perform devotion to the highest principle and attain the benefits of the yoga. Okay, so this is the high level summary of the content of the Gita. It has 18 chapters divided as 3 hexads, 1 to 6, 7 to 12 and 13 to 18. The first 6 chapters, it is like preparing the ground, it is preparing the basement for the coming knowledge. And the next 6 talks about the Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And the last 6 is going to summarize as well as add what is being missed in the first 12 chapters. How many of you tasted sugar cane? Sugar cane, yeah. So we have to really bite and enjoy the taste of sugar cane. The sugar cane, it is said, the middle part of the sugar cane is the sweetest because you can't take the bottom bottommost part of the sugarcane and even the top, no, only the middle part. So like this, the middle 6 chapters from 7 to 12 is considered to be the most important and really religious part of the Gita. The entire Gita writing is sugarcane, then the middle 6 chapters is said to be the most sweetest or the most excellent part of the work, basically. So in this series of lectures, my intention is to go with what the Acharya Ramanuja has commentated upon Gita. At the same time, I would also like to bring in the views of Shankara as well, where it is required, so that the listeners can have an idea about what the two philosophies are. I thought I should say a few words about Ramanuja and his philosophy before we get into this Gita. Do we have a clock here? Okay, I still have time. If we can reduce the number of things that we see in the world, because we get to see many things in the world, and we also don't get to see many things which are at the back. Okay. Now, if you see a lot of things in the world, if someone were to prepare a catalogue of what is there in the world, I think that will be the most difficult job on earth. He is going to record what he sees, just that. Because the Shastras say you need to be aware of everything in this world. Jnana means being aware of everything. Now, how is it possible? So, one of the ways is that you can reduce whatever you see into two things. One is the animate, other one is the inanimate. One is with life, one is without life. Something which has life in it, something which does not have life in it. With consciousness, without consciousness. Technically we say it is a chit and a chit. Chit means those forms of beings which have consciousness or jnana. What is this jnana? That which know that they exist. I know I exist. But this book on my hand does not know that it exists. Don't ask me how do I know. Yes, it does not exist because I can handle it the way I want. It's not going to come back and tell me don't do this. So which means it is not aware of its own existence, plus needless to add, it does not know my existence as well. So now I know that I exist. I also know that this book exists. Okay, so now all the things in the world can be put in two buckets. One is that those things which know that they exist. We should not think that only human beings can do this. Even an ant knows this. If there's an ant which is going to walk this way, you keep a finger. It will protest. It will bite and then it will go. It will take its own way. So which means it knows that it exists and it can perceive dangers and other things. So all forms of life it can be put in one bucket. The other one is all forms of beings which do not have life in them. So chit and achit. Now comes the next question. How can these two exist together? Are they existing because of their own cooperation? That achit decides, let me live with this achit for some time. No, this combination seems to be very wired and homogeneous, heterogeneous. It's a sophisticated arrangement in which both the chit and achit come together. So which means there should be some power behind or beyond these two which has brought these two together. Let us take science. It's amazing to see every day, because I am amazed every day when I look at the moon. How can it stand somewhere over there? How can it be there? It's so heavy. Normally, if you have a heavy object, you leave it, it will drop. The earth hasn't dropped for many years, many centuries, many eons. The moon is hanging out there, the sun is there. Now, what is the power that is controlling? Yeah, I know, I have studied physics, it is gravity. Okay, now who holds this gravity now? Does gravity exist on its own? There should be someone who is wielding this force called gravity. If I am going to carry something, I know I am carrying this, but again there is a will in me with which I am carrying this. So every force needs to have an origin, and that force has to be sustained on a daily basis. It is not like, yeah, yesterday the moon was there, today it's not there. It is going to rotate and revolve. It has a path that we cannot see. The path we cannot see. So which means there is a force in the entire system, there is a power in the entire system which has to be wielded by someone. Why can't it be one among us? Maybe I decide I will try to wield the power. But then I should have knowledge about the entire system. I should have knowledge about the entire universe. Because everything is linked in the system. Everything is linked with the universe. Somebody said the snapping of the wings of a butterfly is linked to big danger which is coming, maybe whatever. So which means every movement in the universe is linked. So there is some force which is holding these two together. So that is called as Ishvara. That is called as Ishvara. That force is called as Ishvara. So we have three phenomena: the Chit, Achit and the Ishvara. So Ramanuja school is called as Visistadvaita. This says all the three are real. All the three. The Chit is real, the Achit is real, and the Ishvara is real. Now, why should we say these are real? Don't we know these are, can't we know by ourselves that these are real? Because there was a school before him which was called as Advaita, in which it said the Ishvara are to be, I take liberty in equating Ishvara to Brahman, because Brahman is different, but still again, to make it clear, Brahman is the only real entity, and the Chit and Achit are nothing but seeming reflections on the Brahman, which means ultimately I as an enveloped with this body do not exist. I am Brahman. So whatever exists is only that the principle of which is governing, and what is governed is not there. This was a school promoted by Shankara, and it was called as Advaita. Dvaita means two. Advaita means only one. So it is a Brahman or the controlling factor, to put it at a very easy level, that is existing. The other two do not exist. They are mere appearances. They seem to exist. They seem to exist. But Ramanuja, in contrast to this school of thought, he called his school as Visistadvaita. Visistadvaita. He said, it is true that there is only one principle in this world, but that principle is always coupled with the Chit and Achit. There is only one thing. Don't call it only Brahman, but it is both. It's combined with both the Chit and Achit. So Chit, Achit and Brahman, or Chit, Achit and Ishvara, the three form a single entity. We will try to explain this during the course of the lectures, because this is high philosophical thing and you may fall to sleep very soon. So, but let me try to take the lecture more towards Gita. But I want to say a few words about Ramanuja. Ramanuja was one of the propagators of this school of thought, which is called as Visistadvaita, in which the world is real, all the lives are real, and God is real. So these things stand out to be real. All our experiences are real. So this is a realist school. Ramanuja was not the first one to come up with this school of thought. There were Acarya-s before him. One is Yamunacharya. One of the shlokas which he recited in the beginning, Yatpada Boruhatyana Vidhasta Shesha Kalmashaha Vastuta Mupayato Yamuneyam. This Yamuna is the Acharya of Ramanuja, who had commentated upon the Gita in the form of verses. He summarized the entire teaching of Gita in 32 verses. The biggest part about talking is that to summarize. You can go on and on talking about something, but if you are being asked a question, can you summarize what is said? Or can you summarize what is in this book? It's a difficult task, because that much of thoroughness is required to summarize. That much of attention has to be paid. So Yamuna, what he did was, he composed a poetical text called as Gita Sangraha, in which he has summarized the entire exposition of Gita in 32 verses. Ramanuja has faithfully followed his preceptor Yamuna in expounding his own commentary. Bhasya is a technical term, Sanskrit word for commentary. Bhasya. So Ramanuja's Gita Bhasya is a development of the work called as Gita Sangraha of Yamuna Acharya. Okay. Now this year happens to be the 1000th birth year of Sri Ramanuja. So I think this institution will do good to, as a mark of respect to this great Acharya, that we are able to give this series of lectures here. Now, let us go into the Gita now. The background of the Gita, why it all began. Okay. There were two sets of cousins. Whenever there are cousins, fighting is going to be there. If you have a common property, there will be fighting. Who has stake over the property? So one set of cousins were called as the Kauravas. The other set of cousins were called as the Pandavas. Pandavas were the sons of Pandavas. Kauravas were the sons of Dhritarashtra. The Pandavas are also Kauravas because they come from the same race called as Kuru dynasty. But for more to separate them from the Kauravas, they are called as Pandavas. The Pandavas were 5 in number, the Kauravas were 100 in number. Even from the birth, the Kauravas were having a kind of asuya towards the Pandavas. They were not feeling what is asuya? Jealous. They were jealous about their cousins because they were more powerful, they were more talented, and they were more appreciated. Okay, so these people could not stand to that. So they always wanted to get rid of the Pandavas given an opportunity. So this kind of infighting went on, and ultimately it commenced or it culminated in the great epic war between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. War which we cannot imagine because it is stated the Bharata Desha, the entire country was divided. Some kings had supported the Kauravas, some had supported the Pandavas, and it is like, I don't know how to even conceive or imagine. It would be a huge battlefield. So perhaps they had to choose a place which would be able to accommodate such a huge army. So that place was known as the Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is still a place which can be visited. It's in the north of India. So Kurukshetra was chosen as a battlefield to decide who will win over the other. An interesting story here. Krishna was also there in the scene. The Pandavas, they kind of knew the greatness of Krishna, but it is not like the Kauravas did not know. They also knew, but we have this factor in us which is called as ego, which does not allow us to accept the superiority or the greatness of someone else. We think we are great by ourselves. So Krishna was also a king. He wanted to stay neutral to both Duryodhana. Duryodhana was the leader of the Kauravas. Arjuna was the leader of was one of the prominent of the Pandavas. He was very dear to Krishna. Krishna wanted to be very neutral. So he called up both these people and said, "You come and meet me tomorrow, I will give you whatever you want. I have some things to share to give it to you to the battlefield. You come and meet me tomorrow, I will give you whatever you choose." Duryodhana was anxious, so he went first. He wanted to go first so that he can stake his claim first. But then Krishna was sleeping, rather pretending to sleep. He would not sleep because he is the Ishvara. So as Krishna was sleeping, Duryodhana thought he would better be seated near the head of Krishna. As he was sleeping, Duryodhana chose to sit towards the head side. Arjuna came next. Arjuna as a disciple as well as a very good friend of Krishna, he knew about him. So he went and sat at the feet of Krishna. So as we know, the moment we wake up, we won't strain ourselves to see what is beyond, we only see what is over the feet. So Krishna saw Arjuna and then he said, yes Arjuna, what do you want? Now Duryodhana said, no, I came first. I want to be heard first. But then Krishna said, yes, it is true. You came first. But I saw only Arjuna first. And I already asked him what he wants. Anyway, I will tell you, I have the entire army. I can extend my army to one of you. And I am also there. I can also come. So you can choose the army or you can choose myself. We won't be together. My army will be on the other side. Duryodhana thought for a moment, what will I do with this Krishna? Okay, it's better to have the army with me. So he said, I will, before even Arjuna opened his mouth, Duryodhana said, I will take the army. Arjuna said, Krishna, if you are there with me, what will you do? Nothing can happen to me. So I will go with you. And Krishna said, okay, let me be your charioteer. Sarathi. Sarathi means the charioteer. So both of them went back in a contented manner, Duryodhana with the army and Arjuna with Krishna. So thus Krishna chose to be the charioteer of Arjuna in the battlefield. It is not an easy task to be a charioteer. You need to know about the war, you need to know about the battlefield, you need to know where you are going to take your the person in the chariot, and you should also know how to protect him if there is a need. You should also be able to give hints as to where you can go and hit. So, we are going to see in the lectures as to how this role of charioteer is compared to the intellect. Is compared to the intellect in us. The horses which pull the chariot are compared to the sense organs. We are not able to sit for a minute, forget a minute, maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds in a place because we are always drawn by 5 horses, which are the 5 sense organs. Eyes always want to see something, ears always want to hear something, sense of smell and so on. So now there is a chariot, which is the body, which is being pulled by these 5 sense organs, and there is this whip or this we call it as the chain which is used to control the reins, R-E-I-N, the reins, which is used to control the horses. It is the mind. The mind is the rein. But can the rein control by itself? We see people taking huge dogs with them, with chained and with pulling. But sometimes the dog is pulling them with the reins. So which means you should be strong enough to hold the reins. So there should be someone, the charioteer, the form of charioteer, who is able to hold. Now that is the buddhi, that is the intellect. If someone who has a real good buddhi, we find them to be composed. They are not easily disturbed. Why? Because they are able to think and know and realize something much better than us. Now Arjuna, if he were compared, Arjuna is the Atma, because the Atma is the Sharira, so the Atma is being dragged by the horses and taken to far off places. Why? Because there is a big buddhi. So Krishna, he chose to be in the place of buddhi. He chose to be in the place of buddhi in the chariot, and then he took charge of Arjuna's senses and then guided him. So this is the reason behind why Krishna wanted to be the charioteer of Arjuna. Now, the Gita commences with a verse recited by Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is the father of the Kauravas. He is also the paternal uncle of the Pandavas. He was lacking the sense of sight from his birth. That's why he could not become a king. He could not see. He could not perceive things with his sense of vision. Now, he had to seek the help of someone who is able to gather information from the war and then tell him, give him a commentary basically, give him a running commentary as to what is happening. and that person was Sanjaya. The Sanjaya plays a crucial role because he was given the gift of seeing what is happening in the war, the battlefield, from where he is. It is not like a reporter as he goes to the site and then comes back with the news. He is seated where he is and he is able to see, visualize what is happening in the battlefield. And he is kind of passing on the information to Dhritarashtra, who is very curious to know what is happening over there. So he begins, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsavaha mamakaha pandavascheva kimakurvata Sanjaya, he is calling Sanjaya, Kim Akurvata. What did they do? What did they do? Who? Pandavaha, Mamakaha. Pandavas are also his own brother's sons. But he is choosing to separate his sons, saying, my own sons and the Pandavas. Like telling they are different. Now, interestingly, he is asking, what did they do? They have decided to fight. Everything was scheduled. Okay, everything was scheduled. They had to just go and fight. But Dhritarashtra is asking, what did they do? He never asked as the fight commenced, as the battle commenced. Who killed who? No. He was asking, what did they do? Why? Because the place has got such a vibration. It is called as Dharma Kshetra. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. There are some places where we are not ourselves. We go to the place, it's so soothing to be there. We shed all our negative emotions. We transform to a different level. The moment we come out of the place, we are ourselves. But the moment we go there, reach the place, it is so serene, it is so calm that we are able to shed all the negative emotions. So the Kurukshetra is such a place. It's a Dharma Kshetra. Dharma, the word Dharma has many meanings. Dharma is a duty, Dharma is yajna, Dharma is the virtues. Okay, so here we can take the place of land of virtues, the place of virtues where real good things are happening. And there are some places historically where if you go and do a small act of punya, it just expands. A small act of punya in a place like places like Kashi, such as treated as very holy in the past. So you go there and do an act of donation or whatever, give a dana to someone that has more significance. Okay. So Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, in the battlefield, what did they do? Why? Because now having gone there, until you reached there, you wanted to do something. Like there was an Acarya who was to be met by a Western seeker. Now the Western seeker had many questions with him before he wanted to come and meet the Acharya. Tons of pages. He said, no, I want to meet him and ask all these questions. So he was given a private hearing. Okay, let the person come. But the moment the person entered, he forgot what he wanted to ask. He was looking at the Acharya was looking at him. 30 minutes went by, an hour went by. Then this person went up and said, thank you, all my questions are answered. So it is a kind of vibration that you get when you go to such a place or you meet such a person. So Dhritarashtra had this faint idea, perhaps the Pandavas will change their mind, not the Kauravas. Maybe the Pandavas, because they had always been righteous. So once they reached Dharma Kshetra, the Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra thought, maybe the Pandavas will say, okay, we don't want to fight. You keep all the kingdom, you keep all the money, we will go away. Because he was sure that the Kauravas would not say so. But at least the Pandavas might have chosen not to fight because of the place of the Mahatmya of the place. So that's why he is asking, Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. Sanjaya, what did they do? Did they ever begin to fight or not? And Samavetaha Yutsavaha. Yutsu is a person who is eager to desire to fight. Who is desire to fight. So Yutsavaha means a plural form. They are all standing in an array so that they are all set to fight. Having been in this way, what did they do? So this is the first shloka of the Gita. The first chapter, it focuses only on some exchange of ideas between Arjuna and Krishna. The teaching proper does not commence the first chapter. The teaching commences only the second chapter, only from the 10th, 11th verse properly. So this first chapter is preparing the ground for us to know why this Gita was expounded, why this Gita was taught by Krishna. Okay, the next lecture I will also say a few words about why the Shastra was lectured by Krishna. What is the need of the Shastra? And then we will carry on with the next verses. Thank you.